And speaking in the Commons, David Davis said a simple principle should apply. If you break the law, you can't make the law.
When you commit a crime which is sufficiently serious to put you in prison, you sacrifice many important rights. Your liberty, of course, but your freedom of association, another right guaranteed under the UN Charter and the European Convention, is also gone, as well as, of course, your right to vote.
The Bishop of Liverpool, the Right Reverend James Jones, supports giving prisoners the vote.
Part of the restoration and the reformation of an offender is enabling them to become a responsible citizen again. And I think what voting does, it engages them in the public debate, it encourages them to make a choice, it enables them to take responsibility for their lives.
Well, the former Conservative Cabinet Minister Jonathan Aitken served 18 months in prison for perjury. He doesn't think prisoners are that interested in voting rights.
The kind of right they might ask for is, can we have the right to receive and send emails, which might be quite useful for their rehabilitation. I mean, if you were thinking of the Olympic Games, I mean, prisoners' voting rights are somewhere down with tiddlywinks, not up there with the 100-metre.
But the Conservative MP Peter Bottomley thinks giving prisoners the vote is the right thing to do.
We want people who commit crimes to think of others, and we take away every opportunity of them doing that. Having the right to be registered to vote and thinking about voting is part of that. The European Court has said that we haven't had this debate. I'm glad we're having it, and my prediction is that within 5 years, some prisoners will be registered to vote and will be able to vote.
Well, David Cameron said the idea of giving prisoners the vote makes him feel physically ill, and the Justice Secretary Ken Clarke has spoken of doing the minimum necessary to comply with the law. Well, speaking for the government, the Attorney General Dominic Grieve said the issue is a dilemma for the UK.
The government is bound by its international obligations, and therefore it has to think, perhaps laterally sometimes, if not horizontally, about how it gets itself out of the conundrum of the views expressed in this House and its desire to see the international obligations that this House once respected as well.
The former prisoner John Hurst, who was convicted of manslaughter with an axe in 1980, originally took the government to court over prisoners' voting rights. He says MPs can't vote to defy the European ruling.
This thing this afternoon is just a sideshow. The control now is actually in Europe. We signed up to the convention, we signed up to abide by the court decision, and we have to abide by it. It's as simple as that. We can't go having Parliament breaking the law. I mean, where would that happen?
Although a vote in the Commons won't necessarily tie the government hands, it would put enormous pressure on ministers to water down their proposals, which are expected to be put to the Commons after Easter. It's BBC Essex, 26 minutes past 4 o'clock. There's a new prisoner tonight, one who might well be interested in voting rights as well. The former Labour MP, Eric Ilsley, has just been jailed for 12 months for fiddling his parliamentary expenses. Bringing more details on that when we get it. Coming up, we've got the latest news and sport headlines. Colleen Harris and Glenn Speller, respectively, with the details on that. And then we'll be bringing you the first of our tributes to Trevor Bailey, the former Essex and England cricketer who's died in a house fire in Westcliff. He was 87 years old. He's been fondly remembered by those who played with him, those who worked with him, those who listened to him, and those that just met him socially and just knew him. First up, we're going to be hearing from David East, Chief Executive of Essex County Cricket Club. Later on, our man Nick Alliker, who was down there all day and who managed to meet up with the family and hear their tributes to him. And also the editor of Wisdom, about what sort of legacy he has left behind in the world of cricket. That and more coming up on Drive Time.
This is BBC Essex.
Time to round up all today's news. Here's Colleen Harris.
As you've just been hearing, tributes are being paid to former Essex and England cricket legend Trevor Bailey, who died in his flat in Westcliff-on-Sea near Southend. The 87-year-old's wife Greta was rescued and is in hospital. Trevor's 3 children visited their parents' flat at lunchtime. Former Labour MP Eric Ilsley has been jailed for 12 months today for fiddling his parliamentary expenses. The 55-year-old became the first sitting Member of Parliament convicted of abusing expenses when he pleaded guilty last month to dishonestly claiming more than £14,000 of taxpayers' money. Air accident investigators in Ireland are trying to find out why a commuter flight from Belfast crashed in Cork this morning, killing 6 people. The plane was making its 3rd approach to the airport in thick fog when it overturned and caught fire. And detectives in South Wales investigating the murder of a pregnant teenager are trying to trace 4 people captured on CCTV